I am probably quite late to the party, considering Baldur's Gate 3 has been in early access for almost 2 years now, and I finally wanted to give it a shot. While I haven't fully finished the game yet, I think I am right before the Underdark and I have a few things to talk about. Along the way, I will also try to answer the question whether or not you should be playing the game in its current state. Let's start with character creation. Character creation is simply amazing. And compared to Larian Studios' previous release, Divinity Original Sin 2, a massive improvement. Character models look gorgeous and very detailed. Something I would like to see are even more customization options, either on release or as post-release content, kinda like they did in Divinity with their barbershop gift bag. For someone that isn't familiar with D&D, I felt a bit overwhelmed when it came to deciding for a class. So pardon me if I get something wrong in this video. Picking your class does get quite complex, and apparently it does go very deep into what D&D has to offer. After fiddling around for a while, I decided to play a warlock, which for me turned out to be a great choice. In general, I feel like classes that are based on physical damage don't bring as much variety to the table as spellcasters. As a wizard you can burn, freeze, create surfaces, throw acid bombs, whereas fighters can just push people around and frighten them. Especially as a fighter, your skills are dependent on the weapon you choose, and you don't get a lot of spells from leveling up. So naturally I ended up with Lae'zel as my only physical character, and Shadowheart and Gale and my warlock as magic spellcasters. As mentioned earlier, the amount of spells you can choose from is staggering. You can choose from the obvious defensive and offensive options, but there are certain spells that will help you in dialogue as well. There is guidance that increases your dice roll results by up to 4, or similarly the Warlock's friendship skill. I found myself having the most success mixing those abilities together, so I don't end up insanely strong in combat, but quite useless outside of it. When it comes to combat, I felt right at home, because I'm quite familiar with turn-based combat systems. Something that took me a while to get used to is the fact that your attacks will regularly miss or will be negated by an enemy saving throw. While at first it is very frustrating to miss an attack, the amount of damage you will do will even out throughout the combat encounter. As a player you are continuously rewarded by experimenting with the options you have available. Overall, everything is presented to the player in a visual, clear fashion. In dialogue you are rolling an actual die, and in combat it will display a red die for failure and a blue die for success. This helped me tremendously because a lot of CRPGs don't make it very clear what's going on in the game, and you would have to look it up in the console otherwise. All the characters are now animated in dialogue. This is of course a huge improvement compared to DOS 2, where you only had a top-down view on everything. Even though this is a huge improvement, in my opinion this might come at the cost of content in the game. If you wanted to, for example, add another questline into the game, you would have a massive overhead in designing each scene, add animations and all the other stuff. In comparison, the world in DOS 2 felt a lot more filled with meaningful dialogue. Pretty much every character had some story to tell, and that's something I'm kinda missing from BG3 so far. Of course, I hope that more things will be added in the game once it actually releases. Time will tell, of course. We haven't seen a major hub or a city in the early access version either, and I would like to see that in the full game as well. The huge improvement in presentation is also facilitated by the enormous graphical advancement Larian's engine has seen since the DOS 2 days. The game, especially the character models, look way better than what we had in 2017. But I have to say it does not have the charm the visuals had from DOS 1. But you know, the style isn't for everyone, so I can understand the decision behind their current approach. Something you have to keep in mind is the fact that the game is still in early access. So naturally I, as many other people, have encountered a few bugs. One of them straight up just didn't allow me to play the game, because the game would only load the ground textures and I haven't found a fix online. The rest of the bugs weren't game breaking though. For example, sometimes the character models would behave in a weird way in certain dialogues, and sometimes the camera would get stuck in terrain. But after resetting the view with a click on a character portrait, it would function normally again. So to be honest, I have enjoyed my time in Baldur's Gate 3 so far, and I'm still not done yet. For me there's still the Underdark to explore and many different classes and spells to try. But is the game right for you in its current state? Well, that depends on your situation. If you are a huge CRPG fan, then you wouldn't be watching this video anyways, and would have played BG3 after you have finished every other CRPG. For me, the decision to buy the game now came mostly from not having anything interesting to play at the moment, and the fact that I would buy BG3 on release anyways. Because you get access to the full game if you have bought the early access version, I figured I might just buy it now. There's one thing you have to consider if you're running on very old hardware, like a GTX 1060, I would not recommend the game. On my old system with an i5 6600 and a GTX 1060, I would get below 60 FPS and the game just looked awful. The game does run very smooth though on newer hardware, on max settings like an RX 6600 or higher. Have you played Baldur's Gate 3 yet? Are you trying to jump in right now? Or are you waiting for the full release? Let me know in the comments below.